Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the next. I'm caught up now with my Sorabji Toccata things. Now we have Toccata Terza, the third toccata after having the second on this same label, which is Piano Classics, performed by Abel Sánchez-Aguilera, who works very, very hard. And, you know, it's an interesting thing about Sorabji is that most of his followers that I've seen, like, talking about performances of his music, are always complaining that there aren't enough. And then when they get them, they hate them. It sort of comes with the music, you know. The music is supposed to be so transcendently difficult that you're supposed to be dissatisfied with anything that anybody attempts to do. I reviewed this one, number 2, with this guy, who's, I think, a very good pianist and does a creditable job with it. Really, he does. Given how difficult it is and all that, he seems up to tempo and, you know. This one is a little shorter than the second toccata, by the way. That's 2.5 hours. This one is only 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's a mere bauble in the Sorabji, oeuvre. Anyway, but they said, well, it would be better if we didn't have a piano who delineated the contrapuntal complexity better. And it's like, bullshit. There's nothing to delineate. That's the problem with this stuff. Let me describe what this is. So this sucker has 10 movements. It begins with something called movimento vivo. It's actually, I think, the pianist who writes the notes quite well, Sánchez-Aguilera, says that, the harmonic language of this toccata is more acerbic than the previous one, which is total chromatic sludgeosity. I actually find this one a little easier to listen to, or at least a little more harmonically interesting and varied. That might just be me. It begins with a vivo, which is another one of those sort of perpetual motion, relentless, monochrome, muddy. It starts out well. But the problem with Sorabji, as so often, is that although you will find in his larger works interesting ideas and interesting textures and sounds, it could be very evocative, he doesn't know what to do with them. He just keeps going and going and going. He's like a little Energizer bunny, he just keeps spinning out notes. But the initial thought or the initial interest is never sustained for the entire length of one of these suckers. So you have that. Then there's an adagio that's about 7 minutes long, and it's fine. It's slow, and it has some attractive bits. And then, here it comes, a passacaglia, 48 minutes long. A ground bass. A passacaglia is a bass line over which you have a series of variations. So this little sucker has 102 variations over a 12-note bass theme, and it's like, again, I keep saying, anyone can do that. Anybody can. I really believe that. They just don't, because, why would you want to? What's the point? And that's what I keep coming back to with this music. What is the point? It all begins to sound the same. 102 variations? Why? Why 102? Why not 101? Why not 142? What's what's the shape of the thing? Yes, it has a big climax. But still, yeah, right. 48 minutes all the way through, and that's just one part of this thing. So once you survive that, if you survive that, there is a cadenza, which is only 3 minutes long, then a quasi-fugato, which is like a double fugue-like thing, and as usual with Sorabji, it's just impenetrably dreary and very, very complicated. Then something called corrente, which is not a courant, the dance, at all. It's just another perpetual motion thing, but it's only about 3 minutes. And then a fantasia, 16 minutes and 51 seconds here of random things and episodes, an interludio, which is 4 minutes, a capriccio, which is enigmatic, even he admits, which means it's totally incoherent, and then finally an epilogo, coda stretta, which is 8 minutes long, and brings the thing to a big climax. And the end is rather satisfying, actually. It's powerful and impressive. So that's the thing. That's the Toccata Terza, the third toccata. Now, a toccata, by the way, is a touch piece. It was designed to show off the possibilities of your keyboard instrument. And in Bach's hands, which Bach is the principal example for Sorabji, It consists of rapid, flourishy passages and scales and things running all up and down the range of the keyboard, then sonorous big chords and things like that in various sections, all designed to show off what you can do on this particular instrument. And to the extent that Sorabji, understands what a toccata is, he certainly does that with the piano. The only point is he could have done it in 5 minutes instead of 2 hours. And achieved practically the same result. And that is the problem with these things. It really is. They just drone on relentlessly, and I do not want to drone on relentlessly. So I'm going to wrap this one up pretty quickly. I described the Toccata Seconda as sounding like an autistic chimpanzee playing 1950s lounge music. Well, this is the same autistic chimpanzee, only it's not quite lounge music. It's a little bit more harmonically interesting than that. I think it's a little more perky in this particular case, except for that Passacaglia and 102 variations. I like this better than the Toccata Seconda. Actually, I think it's a more coherent piece to the extent Sorabji coheres at all. But it's still a chore, and it still shows a composer whose ambition is so much greater than his ability to realize it. And that's not unusual, actually, in music. There are lots of people who have basic training and who write things that are grandiose and full of potential and possibilities, and they aren't capable of actually making anything of them. And here's a wonderful example. And as I said, with respect to the Toccata Seconda, I am grateful to Abel Sánchez-Aguilera for recording this, for allowing us to hear it, for giving us a sense of what these pieces are. There will doubtless be people who will, somehow consider them fabulous and will be happy that they enjoy them, and they're welcome to their enjoyment. But I have to make a recommendation. And my recommendation with Sorabji is that aside from some short pieces or miniatures, nobody needs to waste the time on this when there are many other large piano works, fascinating piano works by other composers that are more than worth the time that you would invest in listening to them. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.